ahead right over there. And this is our new user interface. So this may look a little bit different to our current subscribers. We've made some really nice enhancements, really from the feedback from you all. So we really appreciate some of the feedback that you all have given us to enhance this platform and make improvements. So this is our dashboard that you're seeing. On the left-hand side, you'll see some working tabs. We'll explore some of those here today. Up top, you'll see some different tiles. These tiles provide different status updates on the reasonable compensation reports that you'll be running. These will make more sense as we progress through the demonstration here today. Here with the new platform, really the best way to get to know how our platform works is in the upper right-hand corner where this big blue button titled New Report is. Let's go ahead and select that and run a test report for a test client. That's really the best way to get familiar with how this new platform works here. So step one, this is our report wizard. We're going to go ahead and select that client that we're looking to run that reasonable compensation report for. You can always click into this client field and just grab a quick client that I have listed below, or you can type in that client if you're aware of the name or business name. So let's go ahead and run a report for Nancy Reed of Reed's Coffee Company. If you are a prospect looking at RC reports for the first time, you can always go ahead and select new client and add in the client information. At no point do we take any sensitive client information. All that's required is first name, last name, business name, and email address. And you can add as many clients as you'd like inside your RC reports environment. So there is no limitation. I do want to stress that. In this case, we have a client selected, Nancy Reed. So I'm going to go ahead and select next here. With step number two, here's where we're going to select why we're running this reasonable compensation report. And these are really the four areas or the four buckets of where reasonable compensation comes into play. Starting up the top is tax compliancy for S Corps. If you see these little question marks throughout the new platform, you can hover over them to learn more about these different selections. Like I mentioned, this is on the tax compliancy side. This is really the low-hanging fruit for the IRS here. If you're working with any C Corps and you're on the tax compliancy side, we can certainly run reasonable compensation reports for those clients. The big one here, normalizing compensation for a business valuation. That's going to be very heavily selected with this group. And then the fourth is planning. And as I hover over the planning section, you'll see entity planning, shareholder disputes, divorce, and much more. So in this case, for this demonstration, I'm going to go ahead and select normalizing compensation for a business valuation. Selecting next here is one of the main reasons why we have never lost the IRS over the course of 14 years being in business. Here, where we're taking the exact three approaches that the IRS job aid states for valuators, and we're applying those methodologies to our technology. So a lot of our current subscribers are very familiar with these approaches, starting up at the top, the cost approach, aka the many hats approach. This is really geared towards those business owners that do a lot within their business. They're wearing multiple hats. Really geared towards those kind of smaller businesses out there where he or she could be doing, the cleaning, the marketing, the management, and much, much more. We really see the cost approach being selected on the tax compliancy side very, very often. Second approach here is the market approach, aka the industry comparison approach. This is really geared towards those business owners that are really solely focused on the management side of the business. So really, they're not doing all those other tasks. They're really sitting up at the highest level. We do see this very heavily selected at the business valuation side. And then finally, the income approach. This is an approach that's often selected to back up one of the other two approaches on the valuation side. It's not often selected on the tax compliancy side, but for the valuation side, we do see this selected to back up one of the other approaches here. To start, let's go through the cost approach. I'm going to go ahead and select cost approach. The fourth step here is where we have a couple of other selections or other preferences. Key thing here is we can go back in years if necessary. We have data going all the way back to 2001, so we can select any year that we'd like to run that reasonable compensation report for. I'm just going to select 2026 here. We can display the report to the client upon his or her completion of the interview. That's what we call delivery suppression. We'll get into that in just a minute. And then you could be notified once he or she completes the interview. So again, we're selecting the cost approach. The market approach is going to look a little different here in terms of the steps, but I thought we could run through the cost approach pretty quickly here to give you a glimpse. Last section here is where we can either complete the interview ourselves, or you can have your client complete it. So that you can easily send an automated email inviting your client to fill out the client interview, which we'll get into in just a minute here. And then you can also just click here to begin the interview if you want to complete this process, or let's say your client comes into your office and you just want to walk them through it. This is where you're able to get right into the interview right then and there. So I'm going to go ahead and select click here to begin the interview. And you'll see the new and improved interview user face. So we've certainly made some changes to the UI and UX. This interview takes about 5 to 10 minutes to complete. We're going to go quickly here today, but you'll see really the 5 same steps if you're a current subscriber that you're used to for the cost approach. Here is where Nancy, or if I'm doing this process for Nancy, here's where I'm going to select the time and location for her business. So let's say she works about 39 hours on average per week into her coffee business. And I'm going to select the state and county. So Adams County looks good. And you can see step 1 of 5 is complete up top. Again, we've selected the cost approach, aka the many hats approach. So all we're doing in step 2 is we're adding up all the various job duties that he or she performs within their business. So let's say that Nancy does some cleaning of the coffee facilities. I'm going to select add task here. Let's say that she does some bookkeeping. So I'll select add task. And then finally down to, let's say that she does some supervising of her cafe workers. She's going to select add task there. So these are just general job duties that most business owners perform. The next step here is where we actually get into some of the specifics that relate to the industry that that business owner is in. So let's say that she does some coffee roasting. I can begin to type coffee roaster, find coffee roaster, and add that task. I do want to remind all current subscribers and new prospects that there is no shortage of occupations and professions in our database. We are the largest database of wages inside the United States, and you can certainly select more than one. So if you're working with a real estate agent, that's also, a real estate manager, yourself or the client can go in and select more than one business task. But these are specialized tasks that really fall outside the common tasks that we've already selected in step 2. All right, moving quickly here, tasking proficiency. This is where we're going to allocate how many hours on average does Nancy put into those different hats that she's wearing within her coffee business until that pie chart equals 100%. Again, looks a little different than our previous interview that we had. So, and then the last step here is proficiency. This is where we're going to rank those different job duties that Nancy performs. And we're all set here. So how quick, so how easy that was. I'm going to go ahead and select view report. Our reports have changed as well. So you'll see kind of a snazzier design, if you will. So I do want to remind everyone on this webinar that you can always white label these reports. So you can add your logo, seal up top in the upper left. And in this case, we determined Nancy's compensation to be right around $55,000. When we scroll down, this is the details page. This is a key page in the examination, and in court, this page shows exactly how the reasonable comp figure was calculated. As you can see, what we're doing is we're looking at the job duties, the proficiency, number of hours they're putting into those different job duties. We're drilling down to the county hourly wage level and then adding up those annual wages to determine that reasonable comp figure. And that is how the IRS determines reasonable comp at the cost approach level in the IRS job aid for Valuators. So business summary, stamping the year, some of the preferences